to a very special. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Come with me today as we explore why marijuana is still illegal federally. Well, to examine that, one has to first examine why was marijuana illegal to begin with. It all started in 1937 with the Marijuana Tax Stamp Act. This law that was passed, said that you had to get a tax stamp in order to possess cannabis. But the thing is, you had to bring your cannabis with you to apply for the tax stamp. But by being in possession of that cannabis without the tax stamp, you were already in violation of the law. It was basically an entrapment, and they could bust you. The very first marijuana arrest in 1937 was for 2 grams of marijuana, and the guy got 10 years in prison. But it goes even further back than that, goes back to about 1934 when marijuana was legal and it was becoming a big thing here in the United States. During the Prohibition time, people were roasting it up, because it gave them the same buzz as alcohol, but without getting them really fucked up. They never got really wasted, and they were able to just enjoy themselves and have a good time and unwind after a hard day's work without getting really intoxicated or out of their head. So they liked it better than alcohol. But it wasn't the federal government. While marijuana was legal, people realized how good hemp is and what it can be used to make clothes, rope, fibers, paper. It can even make a fuel. They've developed a fuel out of hemp that can run our cars without a converter. We could pump it straight into our gas tank and drive our cars on hemp fuel, and it would burn a lot cleaner, and it wouldn't be putting so much harm into the environment as the fossil fuel is. So, as I was talking about, you can make wondrous things out of hemp. Well, here's the thing. Hemp paper was poised at the time to replace wood for a source of paper because it would have been a faster, cheaper source of paper. It takes 10 years to grow one tree. In 8 months, you can grow a field of hemp and get the same amount of paper as in one tree. A large tree makes a lot of paper, but it takes 10 years to get a tree big enough to make that much paper. But in just a few months, you can grow an entire field of hemp, and it will actually make more paper than a tree. So it was poised to replace wood as a faster, cheaper source of paper when this timber mogul had heard the news, named William Randolph Hearst, by the way, and we'll talk about this on another video. His granddaughter, Patty Hearst, was involved in that whole hostage thing back in the 70s that created the term Stockholm Syndrome. Patty Hearst was part of the Nubian Liberation Front, NLF, but we'll talk about that in another video. That's his granddaughter. Anyway, William Randolph Hearst, timber mogul, had heard it was going to replace wood as a source of paper, but he'd also heard that it was going to replace nylon as a source of rope. So he got a hold of his old friend DuPont, who made nylon rope, as well as now making paints and stuff like that. DuPont made nylon rope at the time. They didn't even make house paint then. So DuPont had a friend in the government who worked for the Department of Justice named Harry J. Anslinger. So they put up the money, these two rich guys. Anslinger started this fear campaign against marijuana. He started using phony and falsified scientific results that said if you smoke marijuana, you'll become a crazy, hopeless heroin addict and eventually a psychopathic murderer, killing everyone you love or care about. They released a couple of propaganda films, which are now cult classics. Well, the reason we call them cult classics, because they're two of the funniest films to sit and just smoke a fat fucking doob and zone out and then watch. The one was called Marijuana, but it's spelled differently. It's Marihuana. Marijuana. Okay? The other one was called Reefer Madness, and that's become a cult classic favorite nowadays, because we'll just smoke a doob and watch these guys on Reefer Madness, and you'll just sit there and laugh your ass off all the way through, because you'll be like, wait a minute, I'm never like that when I'm stoned. What the fuck? Okay, so these movies came out, they were introduced, and you know what? Here's the thing, they introduced them to the right audience. They targeted the audience as parents and stuff. Reefer Madness was originally released the first year under the title called Tell Your Children. Okay? So the target audience was parents, adults who went to the movies on a regular basis. Back in those days, kids went to the movies maybe on a Saturday date with the girl they liked, okay? And then they'd go to the malt shop and split a soda afterwards, okay? Back then, we lived in a wholesome time where parents were naive and kids were even more naive. But problem is, the kids of those days weren't so naive, because thing is, each generation, if you've noticed through history, each generation gets a little less naive when it comes to certain things like religion or what the government tells you. So, I mean, the parents of the 30s bought it, because these were the ex-drinkers who are now sober because of Prohibition. Okay, they were still thinking about how much fun they had drinking, so they bought into it. They believed every word of it. They believed it to be fucking gospel, excuse my language. But you see, the kids of those days, they were the pot smokers, and they knew different. So, with each generation, like I said, we got a little less naive when it came to things like pot, what the government tells you and stuff like that. So anyway, though, these movies came out, scared the hell out of the parents. They started coming down stricter on the kids. You get busted for weed, I'll send your ass to jail. I'll let you go to jail. Parents started getting like that. So the kids, for the most part, were afraid to try it. Except for a few. I mean, there were a few kids who were literally born with an open mind, and born already with the knowledge of questioning everything you're told. Okay? That's what it's like to not be naive. When you're born with a mind of question everything you're told, you know, don't just teach your children to read. Teach them to question what they read. Teach them to question everything. Sorry to pause, my favorite dog, Jelly Bean. My little applehead chihuahua wanted to be up in my lap. Anyway, back to what I was saying, okay? So, They started the fear campaign against marijuana, and the parents believed it. So they started becoming stricter on the kids. Kids who were naive fell into the strictness. Kids who weren't naive thought with their own minds and experimented for themselves and found out that marijuana isn't so bad. So they were the parents of the kids who spawned the hippie generation. See what I'm saying? Yeah. They ended up being the parents of the kids who spawned the hippie generation, who for a short time, from 1962 to about 1968 when Nixon became president, they got that law reversed. Marijuana became legal again. And here's the thing. From 62 to 68, it became so legal, even cops were smoking it in the streets. Yeah, anyway, so moving on. The law became legal till Nixon came in and made possession of any amount of marijuana a felony under the new Federal Drug Act that they had started. Okay? So let's just ignore all the laws now. Let's go to the main subject of this story, of this video. Why is it still illegal? Okay? We've got probably about almost 30 states now that have legalized it in some form, either medicinal, recreational, or both, in some form. Okay, there's about 30 states now that have legalized it. Okay, so moving on, it's still illegal federally, even though presidents like Clinton, Obama, and fucking Trump have promised to legalize it. It's still illegal on a federal level. Why? Here's the point. It's the Democrats, the ones who keep saying it should be legalized. They're the ones fighting it. They're the ones resisting it the hardest. Look into it for yourself. You will find out I am not lying. They are the ones fighting it the hardest. Why? Because they take payoff from lobbyists and from criminals. From marijuana's two biggest competitors. Number one is Big Pharma, because they know it replaces a lot of the drugs that they are paid to get people addicted to. Okay? Number two is the Mexican and farther down South American drug cartels, because they make 50% of their money off of illegal marijuana. When marijuana is illegal in your state, drug cartels thrive in your state. They move to your state and then they thrive, creating a black market for marijuana. Legalization would eliminate that black market. These Democrats, like Nancy Pelosi, they meet in secret with people like the Mexican president, and they get paid off to let the drug cartels not only continue business, but they also get paid off by Big Pharma. They get paid off to fight marijuana legalization. Current president, I think he smokes it himself, because he damn well wants it legal, because he does not believe that the government should tell you that they have a right to tell you what you can and can't put inside your own body. He doesn't think any drugs should be illegal, I don't think. Well, maybe some of the hardcore narcotics and the pills and stuff, the opioids coming out of Big Pharma. Big Pharma makes a lot of money on opioids. They make a lot of money on pills that are really hardcore narcotics, but they supposedly work as marijuana substitutes. Anyway, hold on, I gotta put this dog down. I'll be right back. Anyway, that's why it's still illegal. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section. Consider me the Alex Jones of Reno, Nevada. And if YouTube wants to ban me the way they banned Alex Jones, well, I'm ready for that. I'm ready to go to court. I'm ready to go to the streets. I'm ready to go to other media and kick their asses politically. You can all put that in your pipe and smoke it. Peace out, Patriots.